Maphunye. He is from UNISA. Good to have you, Prof. Thanks very much for joining us on the program. All right, so South Africa is waking up. I think they want to get a bit of an analysis and a look at how the national election went and the provincial breakdown. So we're going to put up on screen the national results so far. 94% of the voting districts have been declared, and this is what it's looking like. It's quite interesting to see that the ANC are actually coming out on top, which is, I suppose, not a shock to any of us at this point.
Absolutely, there's no shock at the moment. The picture is very much what many analysts and many observers, as well as people who are closely watching these polls, had expected. It's slowly coming in. We are at the very late 90s right now, and it looks like it might not be able to change extremely, widely divergent from what we are seeing on the screens right now.
All right, so just to explain to viewers out there that this is a picture of the votes counted so far. 94% of the voting districts declared nationally, so that's done. Eastern Cape is 97%, Free State is 90%, 67% still in Gauteng. Let's talk a little bit about Gauteng now, because it's the slowest province to get the results. And what is going on in Gauteng?
Well, as we know, it's the second largest province in terms of demographics. There could be many reasons, but I suppose maybe the one to think about that we were talking about very late last night was that some of the polling stations which are situated in those townships, there might just be hitches which are slowing down the process. But at the moment, it's clearly visible that Gauteng is lagging behind, and one would just be wondering as to what are the actual hurdles that they are facing. But we hope that sometime this afternoon we'll be able to see a much more improved rate of counting and declaration of the VDs.
Yeah, because we can still see that some of the parties are sitting there, and particularly the EFF. They're watching that board very closely, and I think their eyes are set on Gauteng, because I think they were expecting a much bigger result, even though we're not at the end of the counting, but they were hoping for a lot more in Gauteng.
Everyone was gunning for Gauteng. Gauteng was the big cake that everyone wanted to snatch away, and it will be very, very interesting to see once we get to the 90s, as we see in other provinces, as to how Gauteng is going to pan out. But of course, the close contest is essentially as a result of the vigorous campaigning by the different political parties, especially the EFF, the ANC, as well as the DA.
Yeah. All right. Let's just tell you how Gauteng is doing at this point in time, and we can I'm just going to turn around and have a look for you. We've got the ANC still taking the top position there at 1,556,000 votes. That is followed by the DA at 909,280 votes, and the EFF at 289,000 votes. So that's the clear picture that's emerging. Obviously, the other smaller parties getting some of the votes, but that's the crux of the province and how it's looking right now. All right, I know we've got some graphs that we're going to put up on the screen right now, and we're going to just break into the other provinces. Let's start off with the Eastern Cape. Okay. All right, the Eastern Cape, actually no, apparently it's, where are we? KZN. This is the KZN, having a look at that. All right, this is again just the how many of the votes have been counted, so that's not really what we need. We obviously 95% of the votes, but in KZN, if I can tell you what the board is looking like, the ANC, 2,246,000 of those votes. The DA is at 423,000. The IFP 391,000, and the NFP 266,000. The EFF only 61,000. So the IFP, the NFP, but the official opposition is the DA.
Yeah.
Is that quite a shock?
That's quite a shock. One would have expected that you did see a different picture because of what pundits have said. But the picture that we are seeing seems to be negating that expectation. Yeah. And the other thing I think, Leanne, is that as we look at KZN, the neck and neck situation between the NFP and the IFP keeps coming up. because, as you know, we have been seeing the picture in different parts in other provinces as well, and it's something that shows that the intense rivalry, I could say, between the two parties, especially the fact that one of I'll put it this way, that the NFP, as an offshoot of the IFP, it continues to, in my view, reflect, similarities in terms of maybe fishing in the same pond.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So that's what's going there. Okay. So that's KZN. Let's move on to another province now, and let's take a look at. I think we've spoken about the KZN. Let's have a look at the Northwest Province now, and see how they're doing. They're almost there. I mean, they're pretty much so finished. I think 99% of the votes have already been declared in the Northwest Province. ANC coming out tops there, and we can see that the results at this point in time, we've got Northwest is obviously ANC stronghold, 733,000 votes there. The DA 137,000, and the EFF 143,000. So it looks like the official opposition in the Northwest is the EFF.
The EFF, yeah. Which is also another surprise and shock, because, as you know, traditionally we would expect the likes of the DA as well as the UCDP, which in the previous elections were contesting vigorously for this province. But the fact that the EFF happens to have gone a little bit above is really quite a shock, even though we know that the EFF, as the new political party, kid on the block, it has been making inroads into the support hold or the strongholds of those other parties.
All right, so let's move on to the Northern Cape now. Let's see how they are performing. They have actually declared 100%. So now we can analyze those results in its entirety. I know the DA were hoping to get the Northern Cape, but it didn't work out in their favor. The ANC, 272,053 votes. The DA, 100,916. And the EFF, 20,951. So the EFF coming in third place, but Cope, I suppose, having a good performance there, if you could call it a good performance, 15,214. They were just a bit behind there. But let's really look at the DA and the ANC there. I think the DA won't be happy about that.
The DA won't be happy about that, but I think they will possibly be happy about the fact that at least they have, done very well compared to the fact that they, in the Northwest that we have just looked at, the EFF managed to overtake them.
Yeah.
Whereas in this case, they are still party number 2, even though you might just say that they are, way below what they would have wanted, to see in terms of the gap between themselves and the ANC.
Yeah. Have they increased their stronghold in the Northern Cape?
I think they have increased their stronghold a little bit, but looking at the picture right now, obviously it's a one-horse race really, as far as I'm concerned, where the ANC has got such a huge, electoral support that, as we can see on the leaderboard, as reflected right now.
All right, we'll continue to look at the provincial breakdown. We'll have a look at the Western Cape next and a couple of the other provinces, just to see how the result count is going and how the parties are faring in that respective area. Let's take a break first, and then we'll continue our discussion with the professor.